Hello, welcome back. So again, I hope you caught my last episode, which I introduced this, again, doing my second practice of a CF pane. Whoops, that's too opaque. I should be able to fix it real quickly. So here's the first layer of the crisp pane technique that is quite surprising. That is that you do acrylics right over the whole drawing, right smack dab on top of it. And one of the things that I learned in my last experiment last week was that my flesh tone, my initial flesh tone like this, was too muted. It wasn't a bright enough orange for the subject matter. So I'm trying to make a correction this time in that regard. And another quick detail, that one of the things that Chris does is this is translucent. It's not opaque. I mean, of course it's not opaque, but it's not transparent acrylic. It's translucent. Very important. That means it's got white in it, right? You understand that, right? And what Chris or CF uses for white is gesso. Brilliant idea, because the gesso has a bit of a tooth to it. And instead of using acrylic white paint, which would dry fairly slick, to avoid that, CF uses gesso. Now everything I'm doing right now outside of the face, I can't find any video or sample or description from Chris about how he does this area. So I'm just guessing, and forgive me again, I know I keep going back and forth between calling him CF, which is his professional name, and Chris, which is the name that I knew him by 30 years ago. So forgive me, I'm not sure which he goes by at all. Now let's do a little bit of blue on the shirt. So a little bit of blue and some white gesso and water to make sure it's thin enough. I don't know if I mentioned this last week or not, but as soon as I nail down, as soon as I feel like I've got CF Payne's technique fairly well in hand, two things are going to happen. One is I'm going to move on to Drew Struzan and try to learn his technique very well. But the other thing that's going to happen, of course, is I'm an artist. As soon as I have Chris Payne's this technique down, I'm going to abandon it. No. I'm going to modify it. I'm going to make it my own. I have a pretty strong suspicion already what I'm going to do. And that is that instead of doing acrylic on his final layer, I'm going to stick with oil. Two reasons. One is I'm more comfortable with oil. Oil is easier to paint in than acrylics. And number two, if there are any archival issues with CF Payne's technique, it would be that his next to last layer is oil, and he does acrylic and colored pencil on top of the oil. That, as you may know, that should be a pretty serious warning or red flag. So this is already almost dry, but I'm going to stop there and be back in just a few minutes. Actually, I might even this out just a little bit while you're gone, but you've seen enough. That's the step number 2. Let me zoom in for just a second. Now this is way yellower in my monitor than it is in real life. I hope it doesn't look like this in real life. That looks like electric yellow. In reality, it's orange and kind of a tan color. Okay, thanks for watching. I'll be back in a little while.